Welcome to this edition of the Million Dollar Mastermind podcast. This is where we pick the brains of high achievers from all walks of life and get their hard-earned, real-world insights on winning. I'm your host, Larry Weidel.
The biggest lesson that I learned was, one, I learned a lot of really good things from them, right? Because they did big deals. They understood different levels of business. I was exposed to different levels of entrepreneurs and business owners and things that I never had been exposed to. So there was a lot of really good. And there was really good lesson for me that I've taken from that point forward was don't get too far out in front of your skis. Really what I felt like that they did is, I'm sure that you're familiar because of, you're up in the Aspen area, but you're probably familiar with Yellowstone Club up in Bozeman and Tim Blixith and how he was putting that together. That's really the type of club we were putting together. And the owner wanted to be, we always said, man, we've got this great thing. Everybody wants it. We're building it, but he wanted it to happen overnight instead of over a certain period of time. And so the big, and that's what really got him in trouble is saying, okay, I'm going to pull money from here and here and here so that I can make this go faster. But then all these other things over here start to suffer. Right. And I've always felt like, you, especially in the real estate game. And this is what I actually haven't raised any money since this lesson. And I've always said, if I can't fund it and it's not my money in the deal, then I'm not going to do it. And so that has probably held me back quite a bit, right? There's a lot of leverage in real estate using, bringing on investors. And today, because of our success, I have a lot of people that will invest with us. We have a lot of people that will say, hey, listen, we really like what we're doing. And there's another level of responsibility when you've got other people's money involved. And that was the biggest lesson I learned back when I was 30, right? When we went through that, because as long as things are going good, everybody's happy. But when things start to hiccup a little bit, and look, we're going into a shifting market right now. I think you're going to see some people that got into raising money and using other people's money on investments that are going to, maybe the deal's not going to go as well as they had planned. And there's going to be people that are facing those same type of implosions, maybe not with, the Fed shutting it down and everything else. But the lesson is when you get out in front of your skis too far and you're using other people's money, there's just this whole other level of responsibility that comes with that. And I don't think that people think of that when they're doing that. We think of all the good times.
No. And you could say that, well, and you said this about their intent was to do this, intent was to do, the right thing. However, it's really no different. They were robbing Peter to pay Paul, and for whatever their intent was, you see all the time people get embezzled, they're caught embezzling for a big company and they say, well, my mother was sick and we had to do radiation treatments and, what am I going to do? I had to come up with, $120,000. I was going to put it back. Doesn't matter what your intent was.
Right.
The thing is, if you do something illegal or immoral or that's why they have so many checks. You've lived your life in real estate. I've lived mine in financial services, and it's, they put the stranglehold regulations on you, and there's a reason.
Yeah, there is a reason, and for good reason.
Anything you let people get away with, they'll get away with.
Absolutely. And you can justify anything, right? That's the other thing. Like,
right.
Most people that are out there doing, there's rights and wrongs, right? And then there's some gray area in a lot of things. And what I feel like is a big gray area, and when you start to deal with other people's money is, your intent, and you better be a damn good expert at what you're doing, and you better be very, very upfront about, hey, there's no guarantee in anything, and especially when it comes to any sort of investment, right?
And when you're guaranteeing based off that performance, this is going to go, this is going to go, this is going to go. Better be very conservative in those things.
Super conservative, and when it's your own money, you can take risks. Take as many risks as you want, right? Like you can be a lot riskier with your own money than somebody else's money, and that's what I have that I struggle with a little bit. For ever since that's happened, when I hear of all these people raising money, and doing deals with other people's money that don't have a lot of track record of doing their own deals with their own money.
And they call it skin in the game. It's like all of the things, how much skin, you know, the person who's telling you this thing, how much skin do they have in this game?
Yeah.
And other successes they've had in the past, how much skin do they have in that game?
Yeah.
And so that's, you know, when you're paying for it. And, you know, there's a thing about the Wolf of Wall Street and the real Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
When he was, he was at a party where there was another con going on, and I forget which name this was. It was, I won't even say the nationality and everything, but they were throwing money around like crazy in New York City.
Yeah.
You know, they're spending money here, and they had hot tubs here, and they had the girls coming in here, and they, you know, and there was a reporter along with him, and asked him what he thought about these guys. He said, they're crooks. he just walked into the party and saw, you know, he said, oh, they're crooks. He said, you don't spend money like that if it's your own money.
If it's your own money. Yeah.
If it's your own money.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's the sign to look out for. But when you went out, I mean, you also said they did something good for you. You got to move in different circles. What did you pick up, would you say, other than your own confidence about, I'm the guy, you know, in the private jet, picking people up, showing them around to the $25 million homes, other than the prestige of that position, what did you learn or what did you absorb by being around a whole nother level of person, the way they talk in terms of successful person, up close and personal? You know,
Yeah.
You're spending time on the plane, you're talking about just how their mannerisms, just their attitudes about things, how they treated other people or how they talk. What did you, remember any particular lessons you picked up from that?
Absolutely. The biggest was, you know, I grew up very blue collar and we worked hard and I didn't have come from a lot of money, and kind of the mindset of, you know, rich people are greedy and they're flaunting their stuff. And because I feel like that there's these levels, you get to the level where you have a little bit of money and you show off as if and spend as if you have more than you actually do.
Yeah.
When you talk, what I felt like I learned when I was meeting these people that really had money, right? They have their own jets, they have their own stuff, is they were very, very down to earth. They were very humble and nice. We would go out to eat with somebody at a restaurant and they were super kind to the servers, right? And that was more across the board. And that is something that opened my eyes that, hey, these are people that I could really like to be around. And I don't have to be this, you know, this cocky. Like at the time, there was times, and I'm not super proud of this. I'm totally different than this now. I feel like, because you learn as you get older and you get some gray hairs and have some miles on. But I remember trying to, when I was doing my fix and flip stuff, trying to show off as if I even had more than I did, right? Buying the fancy cars, wearing the cool clothes, and it was for show, right? And I assumed that's what rich people did. That's what people that are really wealthy did. When I actually was around wealthy people, completely the opposite. They were super kind. They were very, very smart, right? They were very calculated with things. They were super conservative. And for the most part, the ones that I met, you know, they weren't what you would think if I'm going to go to Hollywood and what I would think the rich people were doing, that's what they do. That wasn't the people that I interacted with. And when you change your mindset of what it is, what wealth really is and what it looks like and what that lifestyle looks like, all of a sudden it becomes a lot more attractive as well to say, hey, I can do that, but it's also something I want instead of something I'm, you know, not despise, I guess is the right word, but something that, like, it's greedy, it's bad, it's not good to have that money. They do a lot of really good things. You know, the impact that those people had, and when I would have those conversations with them of the, you know, the charities and the donations and the things that they were able to do, I was like, man, that's a whole different side of wealth that I wasn't ever really exposed to.
And, you know, the thing I've noticed about high achievers is just so hard to get them to talk about how successful they are.
Exactly. They don't want to.
That if somebody's bragging, you know, they're talking, they ain't got nothing, you know.
Exactly.
What's the lure of a development deal for you? Why did you do development deals? You were doing so good with the houses. What was the allure of that?
They were just larger, bigger chunks of money. right? They were, a development deal could bring in several $100,000 on a deal versus, having that would take me, X amount of houses, a lot more houses. So,
Right.
and I wanted to get back into the investing game, right? And it was larger dollar payouts than a fix and flip was. And so we started looking at some development deals, and that's what we started looking at doing. And when I told
now,
you,
let me ask you that. When you're looking at development deals, what does that what's the process on that? Because I read in your thing that you guys are looking at 100 properties a month, evaluating, in what you're doing now. But when you're evaluating development deals, how do you walk out of your house, where do you go? Turn on the computer, and how do you find these development deals to investigate it? Is that a networking thing? Or?
Yeah, it's for us, it's door knocking and networking, right? And it's dealing with farmers, right? Typically, you're dealing with farmers who are getting to the point where they don't want to farm the land anymore, and you're trying to work with what I was doing is like smaller residential deals, anywhere from 50 to maybe 150 lots. And so the area that we knew well, we were, we would go into the farmers area and we'd find out that, where development was going, and we try to find those, the landowners that were willing to sell some of those smaller tracts. We didn't compete with the big builders or the big development deals, because the deals that we were working on were smaller than they wanted to go after. And so what we would do is try to find the raw land. We'd spend the time to get the zoning changed, the entitlements, get all the infrastructure ready to go, and then we would sell it to the mid-size to small-size builders. But yeah, you're not going on Zillow or the MLS and trying to find development deals, right? You're going out and building relationships with with the landowners in the area, and typically they're the farmers that are aging out of wanting to run a farm.
Yeah, and like in the business world, you start a business, you build a business up to a certain size, and you get like 20 million in revenue or this, that, and the other. And then then the bigger boys want to start coming in and buy, they're not looking for lemonade stands to buy, but they are
exactly
looking for bigger businesses to snap up.
Yeah.
And that's what the hedge fund guys do anyway.
Yes.
So you were doing that with developers and the bigger companies. You're getting it ready for them to take over,
and then they would take it. Yeah. And so we ended up at the time, we built some houses. We built about 40 homes, but nothing to write home about by any stretch. But it was, most of our goal was to give them to the bigger developers. Like I said before, so we all own our own individual portfolio. So Vodyssey itself, we help individual investors understand, and my goal is to help them walk into the vacation rental investing game with their eyes wide open. They pay us to help them with some education, some coaching, some support along the way to help them figure out the right properties, figure out how to set them up management wise, but they own their entire portfolio. They pay us a consulting fee for the education on the front end, and we have no ownership or anything with their properties. And so in terms
of ongoing thing, there's no residual type thing for you other than the initial year or something like that.
Yeah, no, we give them lifetime access. They get access to our community, our mastermind community, and then all the education. And we're on version 4 of the education. It's an ever-changing game, especially in a game that's had this rapid growth. There's a lot of different tools and things. So what they do is they pay us initial fee that comes in as their initiation, and then they've got access to everything. I'm a believer that, and I hire coaches. Like I said, I'm a big believer in coaches. I hire a lot of coaches to help me because I'm done real estate. I've never coached people, right? So I hire coaches to help me become a better coach and a better mentor. And a lot of them say, you're crazy. You got to, charge them yearly or have this recurring thing. And that's an argument that we have all the time, is saying, I believe this is a process, not an event. And I want to be part of that journey with people. And we have a lot of fun with it. And so they pay us an initial fee, and they're part of our family for the long term.
And when you say the collective portfolio, how many properties all of the people that have worked with you stay current on how many properties they're
Yeah.
They stay in touch with y'all.
Absolutely. Yeah. We have a super engaged mastermind group. We call it the Empire Club, and we have a master property list. So everybody puts their properties on the master property list, and we support each other. We market each other's properties, kind of cross promote all those different things. And so that's how we stay engaged and on top of the collective portfolio of Vodyssey. And so I would say the average member of Vodyssey probably has a portfolio somewhere between 3 to 6 homes. The fun thing about the vacation rental side of it is you don't have to have these major portfolios to make a big difference in your lifestyle and financial goals, right? Like I don't have hundreds of members making 7 figures, but we've got, a couple handfuls of members making over $1 million a year. And the largest portfolio that makes $1 million a year or more in passive income is 8 properties. And so they're really high producing portfolios. And so you don't have to have these major portfolios, but we've got hundreds and hundreds of members making over 6 figures a year, which is awesome.
And so you show people how to invest in these properties. It is an alluring idea of having properties that you own and all of, your own package of luxury properties. And if you want to go on a vacation to those locations in Hawaii or whatever, you got a property sitting right there. If you want anyone in your family, and then when you're not using it, it's going to be earning income for you. Now, when you talk about the money they're making, can they make this over and above the carry?
Oh yeah. When I'm talking about the money people make, I always talk about the net, and it's uncommon, right? A lot of people talk about the gross,
right?
The gross numbers, which is, and that's after you have to maximize these assets, just like anything else. I always tell people, even like I just mentioned, we got people making $1 million a year, a couple $100,000 a year. We got hundreds of people making 6 figures a year. It doesn't happen the first property you buy, right? And it doesn't happen, especially with any asset. And short-term rentals specifically, they're going to start off as a slow burn, right? You might, right. I look at properties all the time that I am pro forma, and when I'm looking at my 5-year pro forma, my first year or two, I might be making, a 3 to 4% cash on cash return. It's not making me rich in the first little while. It's after you start to maximize in that 3 to 5 year period.
Yeah. And you get the appreciation, should you decide to turn them over, and you have all those things going for you. In fact, one thing that comes to mind is I was talking to Ron Diamond yesterday, who runs, he's got a company that runs 100, it's even hard for me to say this, even 100 family offices.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah, from 250 million to like 30 million something. But he said, to make money in the public, in the stock market, it's almost a loser. He said you can make money in the private world, but to make, if you're going to go out there, if you're thinking about your portfolio and you want to do something, but he said, do something, if you want to do something beyond just an index fund, a no load index fund, and just let it roll. And you don't want to get involved in a hedge fund or something like that. This is an attractive alternative that also can have some side benefits for you, add value to your life in terms of vacation options for yourself.
Yeah. And what I like about it,
get a good return too. You
get a good return, and there's pros and cons to any investment you do. There's pros and cons to every single asset class. I love, short-term rentals. I love just because the things that we talked about. There's that personal use. There's we figured out how to maximize them and operate toward the top of the markets, which at the top of the markets, there's some nice income potential, right? So we've kind of figured that game out that works for us. But what I love about real estate in general is that it helps the average American, right? Average people can buy, especially single family type of properties.
Right.
And to your point, it helps them stay ahead of, all the inflation that's going on out there. It helps them stay ahead of a lot of different things. And when they don't necessarily, and it kind of with leverage and everything else, as long as you're smart about it and you're not over leveraging things, and you're able to put yourself in a position to, normal Americans, it's an asset class that they have access to, right? There's a lot of really good investments like the public stock market, like you said, everybody has access to it. It's really dang hard to make money, right? You're barely going to stay ahead of the game with that.
Most people.
A lot of the wealthy people also have access to a lot of private investments and things like that. And there's money to be made there for sure. But average Americans, a lot of them don't have access to that. And I love like just single family real estate. For a lot of average Americans have access to be able to start to chip away and start to build that lifestyle and financial freedom. I feel like in single family types of properties, and single family properties get talked down by a lot of people. You know, it's like, oh, go into multifamily, go into commercial, go into a lot of this other things, all great assets.
Thanks for listening to the Million Dollar Mastermind. If you felt there were any valuable takeaways from this episode, please take a minute and leave us a 5-star review. Your feedback is important and really helps us get the word out to a wider audience. Remember, we have a valuable webinar that is absolutely free. Register for it right now at weidelonwinning.com. Thanks for listening.